Heroes in the world of sports are not uncommon, oftentimes thrusting themselves into the limelight through unimaginable feats.
Back behind the ball, Woods puts it.
And in! He has done it! Tiger is back! Tiger is back on top! Tiger Woods, the 2019 Masters champion!
And breathtaking performances.
Here's how you count to 8, 3, 2, 1. And for the 8th time, college basketball's national championship trophy is coming home to Kentucky.
But behind every great hero, there are others. Individuals who play a crucial role in the achievements of those we read about in the headlines. The ultimate team players, content to stand behind the curtain, embracing their place as a vital part of a sport's success. In horse racing, these are the unsung heroes.
I have loved being able to bring you these segments every other week here on the Equine Forum throughout the year, and so many great unsung heroes that deserve to be recognized, and I look forward to doing that more in the months ahead. Grooms, exercise riders, starting gate crew members, they all are unsung heroes in our sport. Everybody who works at the farms, in the breeding sheds, that you never get a chance to hear about them, hear their stories, hear how they got hooked on racing, and hear what they do to benefit our sport. That's what this segment is all about. And those are the folks that deserve to be recognized, including assistant trainers. And one of those is former jockey, now trainer, Juan Leyva. He rode 803 winners in his riding career. He is a multiple graded stakes winning jockey, and now he is the assistant trainer of John Sadler, and they get ready to saddle the undefeated, ultra-talented Pacific Classic favorite Flightline later this afternoon. Yesterday, Juan was kind enough to spend some time with our Bobby Newman on our Betting with Bobby program, and here is that conversation, a true unsung hero.
Pleased to be joined now by former jockey and assistant trainer to John Sadler, Juan Leyva. They, of course, will send out Flightline in Saturday's Grade 1 Pacific Classic at Del Mar. Juan, thanks for taking the time, my friend.
Hey, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure, Bobby. You know, anytime for you.
All right, well, of course I want to ask you about Flightline, but first of all, I would love to hear how you go from being a jockey who rides on a daily basis, you won over 800 races in your career, to an assistant trainer for a high-profile trainer like John Sadler.
Well, I think the easy part for me was I've always loved working with horses. Even though I was a jockey, I always asked a lot of questions on training horses, on what you do for this and that. So for me, I think when I decided it was time for me to quit riding, it was just a natural progression to go into training. And the last year I rode, I was having a lot of weight issues, so it wasn't really fun anymore. And I was really just ready for the next chapter in my life.
Is this something where you reach out to John Sadler and let him know that this is something you're interested in, or how do you guys get together and form this bond after your riding career?
Well, this is actually ironic that you're asking this, because John had called me a few years before I started working for him, and he said, hey, are you ready to quit riding and come work for me? And at the time, I was still riding plenty of races a day and winning. So I told him, I said, no, I said, I'm not ready to work for you yet. And I said, I still want to ride a couple more years. And I'm not really sure how it came about that he thought of me as being his assistant, but he always, I think, saw something that he liked in me, because before I left California to go to Florida, he asked me to stay and work for him, and I gave him basically the same response. No, I don't want to work for you yet. I said I want to ride races. So when I decided it was time for me to call it quits, I was actually a little bit afraid that the opportunity wasn't going to be there. But as soon as I called him his response was, "Get here as soon as you can."
That's a pretty good response to get from a guy that you're trying to get a job from.
Yeah, and the great thing is I've known John for a lot of years. I mean, I'm going to go conservative, probably say I've known him at least 20 years. So throughout the years, we always stayed in contact, even though I left California. He always kept track of me. He still jokes around with me. He says, "Oh, yeah, I look at the form, Leyva, and you were writing some 20-1 at Calder." So, I was always on his radar. And like I told him as well, I said, "Well, I always checked up on you too. I could tell when you weren't at the barn, and I called you, and you said you had gotten knee surgery." I said, "So I was checking on you too, John." So he had a good laugh with that the other day.
That's pretty good. Speaking with Juan Leyva, the assistant trainer for John Sadler. Okay, so fast forward. Now you've been the assistant trainer for a few years, and you've got a horse in the barn that a lot of people think is the best horse in training right now, and that, of course, is Flightline, who runs in Saturday's Grade 1 Pacific Classic at Del Mar. We've had the chance to speak with you a few times over the last year, and you have never wavered, my friend, on the fact that you said Flightline would have no problem stretching out and may actually be better going long than short. So I'm going to ask you again. The Pacific Classic is his first time around 2 turns. It's his first time going past a mile as he goes 1.25 miles. Is this a nervous thing for you?
I have no nerves at all. I really believe the distance is going to be this horse's friend. His high cruising speed that he can sustain is really going to be his greatest weapon.
You have the opportunity to be closer to Flightline than probably anyone. Not only do you see him every day in the shed row, but you're on him every morning as well. So is there extra pressure, when you're on him, whether it's galloping or working, knowing that, let's face it, the eyes of everyone out there in the grandstand or a Clocker's Corner are watching you, whether they're involved with John Sadler horses or not?
Yeah, and I always put a lot of pressure on myself as well, because whether it's Flightline or whether it's a $10,000 claimer, I always want to do what's best for the horse, and I want to give that horse 110% of my abilities as a rider, as a horseman. To me, they're all equal. I want to see the best out of them. And yes, Flightline he's not a regular horse. He's probably one of those horses that I don't think I'll get the chance to see again in my lifetime. I hope I'm wrong, but I'm also realistic, and I know that this is probably going to be the best horse I'm ever going to be around with.
As I mentioned, you get to work the horse as well. Is there anything different that you and the team have been doing to get him ready for his first 1.25 mile race that maybe you did leading up to the Malibu last year at 7 furlongs or the Met Mile at the 1-turn mile earlier this summer?
We haven't really done anything different with him. Everything from the start has always been about teaching him to ration his speed, not go 100 miles an hour from the start. And I think this year we finally achieved what we really wanted, is a horse that can turn off and be right there for the jock when he needs him. And, I think with age, this horse has also matured. But, John's also been very patient with the horse and with me. There were some mornings where maybe I didn't gallop the horse the way he wanted him to go, but he let me do my job being his exercise rider, and I think the results speak for themselves. People doubted him going 1 mile. They said if he could carry his speed going 1 mile, and he did. He overcame a lot. And I think tomorrow, when he shows people what he can do, I don't think there's going to be a lot of second guessers anymore.
The plan all along has been to go from the Pacific Classic to the Breeders' Cup Classic and then it sounds like, unfortunately, for those of us that are Flightline fans, to the breeding shed. Is there a little bit of tear in the eye knowing that, you know, the days are slowly winding down to be around this superstar?
It's bittersweet, but you know what? I get to enjoy being around him now, and I think the lessons that he's taught me will help me in the future to be able to develop horses with maybe not as much ability as he has, but maybe close. And I think that's the biggest thing that I'm taking away from this, is that you don't really know how to train a good horse until you have one in the barn.
You and John Sadler certainly have one in the barn. He's not only a good horse, he may be the best horse in training right now, at least in North America. I know that our fans of European racing would argue that Baid is certainly in the conversation. He's undefeated as well, and wrapping up his career by the end of the year. But you guys have Flightline. He has looked phenomenal in his first 4 starts, and he figures to be the overwhelming favorite in Saturday's Grade 1 Pacific Classic at 1.25 miles at Del Mar. Juan, really appreciate you taking the time, and wish you and John and everyone on the Flightline team nothing but success. We will be watching, my friend.
Hey, thank you, Bobby. Much appreciated. And it's always a pleasure to talk to you, my friend.
Juan Leyva with Bobby Newman on Betting with Bobby. What a great conversation there, and a true unsung hero. As every assistant trainer and groom and exercise rider, they all deserve that type of credit, and wonderful stuff there from Juan Leyva, talking about the great Flightline. Again, he is a heavy favorite later today. He'll have a couple questions to answer, but if you were going to bet on any horse to answer those questions, the 1.25 miles, the 2 turns, Flightline would be the one. We'll see if he can pull it off later today. I'm back with more right after this word from Woodbine.
The thrill of world-class racing continues at Toronto's Woodbine Racetrack. Kick off the weekend's action with Twilight Racing each Thursday evening at 4:50 p.m., followed Friday, Saturday, and Sunday programs beginning at 1 p.m. Don't miss the build towards 3 Grade 1 Breeders' Cup Winning You're In races on Saturday, September 17th, with the Woodbine Mile, Natama Stakes, and Summer Stakes. Plus, enjoy the best turf racing around with daily action over the famed E.P. Taylor Turf Course. For wagering updates, handicapping tips, racing news, and more, visit woodbine.com.